Hello and welcome to the Recruit Rockstars podcast, where we focus on the people part of your PE or VC-backed company. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I interview a world-class expert on talent and recruiting so that you can build a company filled with rock stars. And I'm your host, Jeff Hyman. My guest today has spanned tech businesses, consumer businesses, came up through marketing, now finds himself, leading a fast-growing private equity-backed company. He's literally got a tiger by the tail, and we're going to talk about it. And he's really got a fascinating background. So I wanted to have him on the show, and we're going to talk for the next 15, 20 minutes about how he leads, how he recruits, how he scales his team. His name is Steve Ball, and Steve is the CEO of Zesty Paws, fast-growing pet-related company based in Orlando. And prior to that, he was also in the pet business. And then if you look way back, he was at General Mills, at Nestle, at Informatica, learning the fundamentals of marketing. So with all that, welcome to the show, Steve.
Great to be here, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Well, why don't we start with just kind of 30,000-foot view of what is Zesty Paws for folks that have not heard of it, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So Zesty Paws is, at the end of the day, supplements for dogs and cats. So we do functional nutritional products, everything that you would need to target a specific condition your pet has. Could be hip and joint issue, digestion issue, skin and coat. We make supplements for them, and they're in a soft chew format that can be given to them a lot more like a treat. So dog loves it, cat loves it. It makes pet parent very happy and ultimately keeps them healthier and happier, and keeps everyone in the household feeling better.
Do most people know that their pet likely needs some kind of supplement, or is this still a kind of a category awareness building challenge?
Great question. So it's both. The need typically stems from a condition. So if you're like my dog who has hip dysplasia, obviously saw her kind of, not walking too smoothly, vet tells you a dog needs a hip and joint type supplement with glucosamine, MSM, things like that. So that's more the condition, need-based, if you will. And the other side of it is analogous to what people do for themselves, which is a large number of Americans, people today, take supplements themselves because they don't feel that within their diet they're getting enough nutrition. Same thing can be said for pets. That is what requires more education. Thankfully, there are a lot of people who are pet parents who do already take supplements for themselves. Therefore, it can be a little bit easier to then educate them on, look,
Sure.
If you're doing this for yourself, don't you think your best furry friend also could use a supplement to, help with digestion, so a probiotic, things like that, or ultimately ones where, that education is still there, but we definitely can, target it to people who are already taking supplements themselves and make it a little bit easier.
Got it. Now, I won't put you on the spot for how big the business is, but can you just give people a sense of how fast revenues are accelerating?
Yeah, so the business is high double-digit growth year over year. We're predominantly sold today online, so we sell on Amazon and Chewy. And yeah, it's a fast-growing category. We're the growth leader in the category. And at the end of the day, what's driving the growth is predominantly the fact that we're top-rated and top ranked on sites like Amazon and Chewy. Large number of reviews, high star rating across the board. And that's just where people are going today to buy all sorts of pet products. The fact that you can get them at your door in a day or two, put it on auto ship, if you will, or a subscribe and save, where kind of a set it and forget it.
Yep.
It just makes the pet shopping experience that much easier. And it's where Zesty Paws has really thrived with regard to, being the leader in marketing and selling these functional nutritional products.
And it's a nice recurring revenue model.
It is, yes.
I guess you picked up a lot of this from your previous stint. You were CEO, co-founder at I and Love and You Pet Care. What'd you learn about the pet business the first time around that was so intriguing to you that you wanted to do it again?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is really what drives that the industry at the core and drives that relationship that we all have with our pets, which is that emotional bond. And that emotional bond really is the love you have for your dog, your cat. And ultimately it is one of the strongest, emotions and relationships you have in your life. And that ultimately people will do almost anything to make their dog healthier and happier. And it's just a fun industry to be in for that reason, that if you're able to put, in our case, kind of the zest back into your pet's life with a nutritional supplement that makes them healthier and better, that ultimately leads to a smile on the pet parent's face. And, that was really, when we were doing I Love You, a lot of what we talked about too, is how do we strengthen that bond of love between the pet parent and their pet. And we're doing the same thing as Zesty with regard to what our products do for them. So I think that emotion, we always said it was most analogous as a category to baby food, if you will, in the sense that that's a category where the person buying the product is not the one consuming it, right? You're giving it to somebody else, and they oftentimes can't give you the feedback, right? They're not able to vocalize it. So how do you know it works? You just see it in the way they act, and that you're going to do anything and everything for them. And I'd say that's at the core of what drove us in I Love You, and really what has driven and led to the success and growth at Zesty Paws as well.
What strikes me as neat about it, and we can pivot to the people part of the business, is it really, the category just really lends itself to a mission, a purpose, a driving theme versus just doing something for money. I'm guessing that this category really attracts people that are pet parents and love it, and it's just kind of who they are.
Completely. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm back in it, after doing I Love You and getting back into it. It just is really, as we all know, it's much more exciting to do something you believe in, work for your passion, than it is, again, just to be out there just to make money. We say, the mission we have at Zesty Paws is to keep your besties feeling zesty. And obviously what we mean by that is if we can make, your dog or your cat healthier and happier, we know it's going to make the pet parent healthier and happier. And that is just so core to it, right? I think the evolution of the industry has been that pets are just more and more like a member of the family and are a member of the family. And to me, that this kind of goes without saying today. It's sort of the category norm that everyone treats their pet like a member of the family. And so given that, that people are going to do whatever it takes to keep their family members healthy and happy. And the same goes for their furry pet family members. So it's really what Zesty focuses on and what we've been doing well over the years.
Do you think that having that ability to recruit people around this very special mission and mantra helps much when it comes to your ability to attract talent? Because, you spent your early days in marketing at Nestle and General Mills. I mean, these are world-class, huge companies. They pay real well. They have amazing training programs. Now you're at a 10, 20, 50-person company, and you're trying to compete with these folks for talent. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think on the whole, yes, it does help. It really helps to, attract the talent who wants to be part of a belief brand, a brand with a purpose, a brand on a mission, a brand that aligns with their values and a business that aligns with their values. So I think that just both helps to recruit, but also frankly helps to filter out from our end. What we don't want is just the people that don't value that and simply don't believe in our mission, because when the going gets tough, as it does at any business, at the end of the day, your belief in the mission, your belief in the business and the brand is what helps people get through some of the tougher times, what helps people really do the extra that needs to kind of, that's needed to be differentiated and to win, frankly, in the marketplace. And I've seen that many times over where people then, our focus is around, we don't want people who just want a job, right? We want people who want to work and do something that they love and that they're really good at. So we're looking for both that combination of passion, but also skill. It's not just about passion, right? Your heart can be in the right place, but look, if you don't have the right abilities, don't have the right capabilities, the the passion has to align with that and fit with that for you to perform in a high growth, a performance driven organization like Zesty Paws. Because at the end of the day, we want to, achieve great goals and great things while achieving and striving towards our mission and our passions, if you will. So it is a combination thereof, and I think it works both ways.
What have you learned about assessing candidates for that, right? Because it's easy for a candidate to fake passion or say they have passion. How do you really get at their ability to sustain themselves during those hard times that you were describing versus the big company people who think they want to go to an early stage growth stage company, but they're just not cut out for it?
That's a great question. And frankly, I'm probably still learning, right? I don't think I've got it all figured out on that front. I think it's typically the actions that are going to speak louder than the words, right? So let's say, in an interview process, right, you can oftentimes get to what actions have they shown around some of those passions, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if they're not a pet parent or don't, have a good reason for their inability to own a pet, but still show their love for pets in other ways, whether it be volunteering at a shelter, you name it. I just think it's really hard to fake that aspect of, the passion and the drive in this industry. The actions are really going to be telltale on that. I think the actual actions and passions of when the going gets tough, how are they going to perform? What I've learned to focus on is the specific examples, right? So driving into past examples of maybe not where they were in the pet industry, but they were in a different role that aligned with their passions or their interests, and they were able to demonstrate specifically what they did in that instance that showed me that it wasn't just treated like a job, that it was somebody going the extra mile because they were so driven, because they were aligned with the mission and they were aligned with doing really well, right? Because some people can just be driven because they want to perform, they want to do well, and that's great. We want that as well. But we also think that the passion and the drive can be more sustainable and be one that really kind of continues with people on the journey. So I think those specific examples, and then again, showing me via actions versus just saying the words, I think are the ways that I've been able to tease out the real folks around that from the ones that are just kind of saying it.
Do you think most leaders that you've worked with really know how to assess talent properly, or do you think people, rely too much on resume, what school the person went to, what companies they worked at? What advice would you give to listeners who are really trying to hire far more accurately and reduce the bad hires?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think people in the industry where I've kind of been the last 10 plus years, call it the emerging consumer products. I think people are getting better. And I think the way they are is just through the shared resources and shared knowledge of how do we identify the right talent, right? Versus just simply going off of the resume and particular experience. Because in this industry, there's not always a one size fits all from when I say this industry, I mean kind of the emerging better for you consumer products industry. There's not a one size resume that fits all. I have seen it all where some people with call it the blue chip resume can't perform because it's too entrepreneurial and doesn't, too unstructured for them. And then you have the folks who don't have the pedigree, don't have the resume, but it just have that passion, that drive, and have learned through finding out how to get in the door, taking on whatever job it is, and then working their way within the industry. And they, more times than not, really excel. So I think they have to have demonstrated more of the drive and the interest in figuring it out and making it happen for them versus less of what I would call the big companies where I've worked, which is looking more for the specific resume, specific experience, and more call it the boilerplate type candidate. This one's more about show me how you've learned this industry, show me how you've proven successful wherever you are, and take me in those specific examples. And so I think that's where the industry is still learning on that. I think we're still getting better at that. But it goes back to the old adage of, hire slow, fire fast. I think at the end of the day, take your time during the process of hiring. But look, if they're not the right fit and they don't demonstrate that they're going to, try and make themselves into a great fit, like you don't have time in these companies to not move on. For the better, better for them also to then get in a role where they excel, and better for the company to ultimately find the right person for that role. So probably a really vague way of answering your question, but
let's say you realize you've made a hiring mistake. I think a lot of our listeners struggle with this, right? Do you give it a week, a month, a quarter, a year? And how do you decide when it's just not going to work?
Yeah, so we give it anywhere from, I'd say, 30 to 90 days. It depends on the candidate. It really does, right? 30 days, right? You oftentimes know if the person was not as advertised, meaning to come in and don't have the right work ethic, because that's really hard to obviously gauge, right? And what's the work ethic going to be like? Two, there's not a fit culturally. Maybe they did well in the interviews, but they get in and they're already ruffling feathers, not operating within the cultural values that we have as a company. Or call it, third area would be really just performance related. They're just not up to the task of doing the job. I think the third area is the one easier to put a plan against and to say, look, here's what we need you to be. We need you to be doing X, Y, and Z and at this level, and we'll help you get there over the next 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is. The prior two are the ones that I think need to be dealt with quicker, because somebody doesn't fit with the culture and the culture's values, oftentimes isn't going to change. It really is, right? Maybe they're not fully aware of everything. So it could be, and I've had this where it's a simple, hey, by the way, that's not how we do things here, because that doesn't align with so-and-so value we have, right? So we can, reiterate that to them. And that's being course corrected very quickly. But I think it's the ones that are complete against the grain of the cultural norms and values that I think just you can tell pretty quickly are not going to work out. And the same goes for the work ethic, right? End of the day, if the work ethic's not there and they're not a hardworking person who's driven to do a good job, like that's hard. That's a really tough one that I've not seen course corrected within 30, 60 days. It's just not the right fit. So again, depends on the candidate. I'd say the faster you can do it, the better. Be fair to the person. They show a right and a willingness to accept your feedback and work towards making an improvement. Great. I've had the incidents where we put them on a 60-day plan and said, look, here's what we're looking for you to do. They nod their head yes. They acknowledge they're going to do it. And within a week or two, they're back to their old ways. We just literally walk in and say, look, it's not working out. Said you were going to do this. You didn't do it. We've given you 2-3 times to fix it. It's just best for both that we part ways. And, look, it's never a fun conversation. No one's ever excited about it, but I do believe it's better for both parties in the end.
I've struggled with it, and I think a lot of leaders do. And I think what I've learned over the years is you're actually doing them a favor. Now, they don't realize that in the moment, of course, because of emotions and ego and those things. But almost, 9 times out of 10, it seems like later, they almost thank me and realize they were in the wrong place, the wrong role, the wrong culture. Once they find their home, it kind of gives perspective.
Yep. 100% agree. I think to your point, it's like in the moment, no one's going to ever think you're doing them a favor, which is, depending on the candidate, why you were having to part ways, right? The offer to, hey, we'll help you, whatever you need, just isn't the right fit for whatever reason. To me, that's always, something I love to do and be, I think it's a gracious gesture and one they appreciate. But again, that's not always possible. But to your point, I feel like every time there's been that discussion, both parties have ended up in a better place. And that's just, it's something that has to be dealt with, and it's never fun, but usually for the better.
That's our job as leaders, right?
Yep.
Steve, I can't thank you enough for making the time. How can people learn more about Zesty Paws or get in touch with you?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the time, Jeff. Great talking to you as always. Zesty Paws, definitely check us out on Amazon, on Chewy.com. Just simply type in Zesty Paws to either one of those sites or just to Google, or visit us at zestypaws.com. You'll see a lot on our site, but we've got thousands of reviews on Amazon and Chewy. Definitely the best place to learn more about the brand, the products, and Definitely appreciate the time again today, Jeff, and always good to talk to you.
If you are a pet parent, you've got to check it out. Check out Zesty Paws. Thanks again so much for making the time, Steve.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.